Welcome to SUNY New Paltz CAD Resources. This channel will hopefully help you learn the Rhino 3D software and complete the weekly homework assignments for CAD 1. Let's get started. The last steps before you submit your cube model are to add your initials and properly orient it for 3D printing. Intuitively, we look at the flat base of the model as the bottom, but this face right here will actually be oriented to the build plate when it is being 3D printed. This is because of something called overhang angles, which you can read about more in the description if you're interested. So we're going to add text to the bottom of our model and then orient it for 3D printing. Before we add text to our model, we want to find the correct face in one of the viewports that's not a perspective viewport. We want to be looking at it straight on. We can cycle through our different views by clicking the arrow next to the name of the viewport, scrolling down to where it says Set View, and then choosing our different options. In this case, the correct view will end up being the left view. That's just because of the way that I modeled my cube. Now that we have our viewport correctly selected, we can now make our text object. If you just use the text command, you don't get a 3D object, so you want to make sure you're using text object in the command line, or you can click the text object icon on the toolbar. Once we're in text object, first we want to set our height to be 5 millimeters. This will be the height of our text. We can write in our initials into this box here, and then we want to set our output to be solid, and we want to set our thickness to be 1 millimeter. The actual amount we're going to engrave or emboss our text has to be a maximum of 0.5 millimeter, but it's not a bad idea to make your text a little larger than you need it to be. You also want to group your output. This is very important when you're using text objects because otherwise your different letters will get separated and that can be bad. So now I'm going to select my text and use Gumball to move it in front of my object. If we go and look in the front viewport, we'll see that my text isn't actually oriented in a way that we can cut into the surface of that bottom face yet. So we need to move it into place. I'm going to use an align command, and I'm going to do a left align just to get the text up against the face of the bottom. Be sure to use an end snap so that the text is really aligned with the actual face of the object. Right now, the depth of our text is 1 millimeter into the object, but the maximum amount we can engrave is 0.5 millimeter, so we use Gumball to move it 0.5 millimeter to the left, so that only 0.5 millimeter is sticking into our object. Now we can do a Boolean difference to engrave the text into our object. You could also do a Boolean union to emboss it, but do not emboss text on the bottom of your object or it will mess up your print. Now we're going to rotate our object to orient it for 3D printing using Gumball. Make sure you snap to ortho by holding Shift when you do this. Now we have oriented our object to the way it will actually be 3D printed. One thing I like to do here is move my object up in space with the Gumball and then align it to the 0 point just to make sure it's really seated on that XY plane at the origin. So we've added our initials, we've rotated our object to orient it for 3D printing, and we're all ready to submit our files. Good luck with the project, everyone. We'll see you next time.